And over the last couple of days, we've seen a whole dust-up about me talking about the frustrations and struggles of workers, not just here in Pennsylvania, but all across the Midwest, including my home state of Illinois. Now, I am the first to admit that some of the words I chose badly. Because, as my wife reminds me, I'm not perfect. She reminds me of this frequently, and events often remind me as well. So I'm not a perfect man, and the words I chose badly. They were subject to misinterpretation. They were subject to be twisted. And I regret that. I regret that deeply. But, when people suggest that somehow I was demeaning religion, when I know that I'm a man of deep faith, somebody who in my own life has held on to faith, held on to my confidence in God during times of trial and tribulation, then it sounds like there's some politics being played. When people suggest that I was somehow being elitist and demeaning hunters, when I have repeatedly talked about the tradition that people pass on from generation to generation, hunters and sportsmen, and how I have consistently spoken about my respect for the Second Amendment, when people try to suggest that I was demeaning those traditions, then it sounds like there's some politics that's being played. And what really burns me up is when people suggest that me saying that folks are mad, they are angry, they are bitter after 25, 30 years of seeing jobs shipped out, pensions not fulfilled, health care lost. The notion that people are surprised and are suggesting that I'm out of touch because I spoke honestly about people's frustrations, that tells me there's some politics going on. Now, I have to admit that I expected some of this out of John McCain. John McCain said I was out of touch. He said I was being condescending and elitist. People aren't bitter. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy, it took him 3 tries before he actually came up with a plan to deal with the millions of people who are about to lose their homes because of foreclosure, who wants to perpetuate the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans while ordinary folks are struggling to pay the gas bill and the light bill and gas at the pump. And he's saying I'm out of touch. Do you think I'm out of touch, or do you think he's out of touch? So I expected this out of John McCain. But I've got to say, I'm a little disappointed when I start hearing the exact same talking points coming out of my Democratic colleague, Hillary Clinton. She knows better. She knows better. Shame on her. Shame on her. She knows better. Huh. She's running around talking about how this is an insult to sportsmen. How she values the Second Amendment. She's talking like she's Annie Oakley. Hillary Clinton's out there, like she's out in the duck blind every Sunday. She's packing a 6-shooter. Come on. She knows better. That's some politics being played by Hillary Clinton. I want to see that picture of her out there in the duck blind. Come on. when Hillary Clinton says I'm out of touch, I just have to remind people of the track record. All right? So now this is Senator Clinton. This is the same person who has taken more money from lobbyists than any other candidate, Democratic or Republican, taking more money from drug company lobbyists and insurance company lobbyists, and she's saying, I'm out of touch. Who do you think is out of touch? This is the same person who took money from financial folks on Wall Street and then voted for a bankruptcy bill that makes it harder for folks right here in Pennsylvania to get a fair shake. Who do you think is out of touch? This is the same person who spent a decade with her husband campaigning for NAFTA and now goes around saying how she was opposed to NAFTA. Does that sound like she's in touch with Pennsylvania? Does that sound like she's in touch with you? This is the same person who says she's voting for the Colombia trade deal. Turns out that her top advisor, her top strategist, was working for the Colombian government to get the bill passed. Does that sound like she's in touch with you? She must, what'd somebody say? She thought, what'd she think you were? Come on, she knows better than that. She knows better than that. So here's the thing. Every 4 years, we get politicians coming before you, and they say the same things. They say that they're going to fight for you, and they say they're going to bring all the jobs back, and they say that they're going to get health care done, and they say that they're going to be, making sure that our trade deals are fair. You guys have been hearing it. You've been hearing it forever, and things haven't changed. And of course you're frustrated about that. Of course you're angry about that. Of course you're bitter about that. But here's the good news. The good news is that when we started this campaign, we said we were going to do something different. We said we weren't going to take PAC money. We weren't going to take money from federal lobbyists because I wanted to be accountable to you. And there were all kinds of people who said, well, he can't, he's not going to be able to compete against all those big money interests in Washington. But you know what they didn't understand? They didn't understand you. They didn't understand that you were tired of a politics that was all about tearing each other down. You wanted a politics that was about lifting the country up. They didn't understand that you were going to finance my campaign with $25 contributions and $50 contributions. They didn't understand that you would help build the best political organization out there that could compete with anybody, no matter how many big endorsements the other candidates got. We had the people on our side. And so I'm here to say to you, all of my friends in labor, that you have funded my campaign. I am accountable to you. Those lobbyists, they have not funded my campaign. They will not run our White House, and they will not drown out the voices of the American people when I'm president of the United States of America.